you seen Star Wars?
Lucasfilm has revealed what the short-term and kind of the long-term future of Star Wars is. We have 9 shows that are in development, that have been filming, or going to film soon, and come out over the course of the next probably 4 to 5 years. We have a Star Wars film coming in 2023 called Rogue Squadron, and then I would assume, because in 2025 we have another Star Wars release date, and in 2027 we have another one, so 2023 is the Rogue Squadron film. 2025 likely seems like the Taika Waititi Star Wars film. In 2027, we don't really have any information about that. You know, it's 7 years away. That's a long time for a Star Wars film to work on and be developed and everything. There's a lot of time between now and then. But we still have not heard anything about the Rian Johnson trilogy. And this has been a hotly debated topic over the Star Wars fandom since 2017 when they announced it. They announced the Rian Johnson trilogy a few months before they even released The Last Jedi. So it seemed like Lucasfilm had, maybe still has, a lot of confidence in Rian Johnson, but there is no need to beat around the bush. There's a lot of negative reaction to The Last Jedi. Now, to be fair, there are a lot of people who really enjoy this film, but for just as many people who enjoy it, there's a lot of people who also really do not enjoy it. And that was kind of the reaction to this movie, was it seems like mostly negative reactions. And that's a topic for another day. That's something we've been talking about for a long time now. But if the Rian Johnson trilogy is still happening, wouldn't this earnings call that they did this past Thursday, this big investors meeting where they showed off all the new Star Wars content, a movie, another movie with Taika Waititi, the new shows, all these major announcements, wouldn't this have been a decent time to reveal the Rian Johnson trilogy? Now, maybe for the sake of argument, maybe they are still doing it, and it's just kind of further down the line in development. That still doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They announced this trilogy in 2017. It has now been 3 years. We're at the end of 2020. It has been 3 years. So the idea that they have not gotten a release date, they have not gotten the script or the story pinned down for this trilogy yet they have Patty Jenkins working on a Rogue Squadron movie. They have Taika Waititi working on his Star Wars movie, which I would presume would release in 2025, just because we have 3 release dates. So if we're going with the argument that the Rian Johnson trilogy is coming out in 2027, that's the first one we get. Quite literally 10 years after The Last Jedi came out. I like some parody. I like that. I don't think that's a bad idea. I'm just saying, why not tell us? What's going on here that we're not missing? Has he not been working on the trilogy? And I'm not ready to assume this trilogy is not happening, for a few reasons. When Lucasfilm announced that David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were working on a Star Wars trilogy of their own, there was an actual article for it on StarWars.com. That article is no longer there. They've deleted that, and any mention of them basically from the Star Wars archives. That's not the case with Rian Johnson. His trilogy announcement is still on StarWars.com. A lot of the stuff he and Lucasfilm over the past, probably say a year or so, has indicated that the trilogy is still happening. I know there's so many freaking YouTubers out there with so-called inside sources who say, oh, the trilogy's not happening, it's canceled, never gonna happen. Okay, unless it's coming from Lucasfilm or Kathleen Kennedy herself, I'm not gonna believe those guys. I need someone with actual, authority in the situation to say if it's happening or not. And Rian Johnson has continued to say it's happening. Kathleen Kennedy said in 2019, April 2019 at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, that the trilogy is still happening, and over the summer she was going to meet with David Benioff, D.B. Weiss, and Rian Johnson to lock down the trilogy and the movies, and they were going to work together. Like Rian Johnson, I think he was going to work with David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, all to work on the stories and what each of their trilogies were going to be about, which is kind of crazy to think in hindsight. The guy who made one of the most hated Star Wars films, The Last Jedi, working with the guys who screwed up Game of Thrones with seasons 6, 7, and 8. I know people hate 8 a lot, but 7 and 6 were pretty bad as well. But still, that's just a funny thought. But the point I'm trying to make here is, they locked down everything. They had everything set in motion, and then Kathleen Kennedy did not like what David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were doing, and she cut them. That's a fine move. I'm okay with those guys being gone. But what about Rian Johnson? What is this guy doing? I know he's going to make a sequel to his movie Knives Out, which was successful and, good for him. It was enjoyable, and yeah, he should make a sequel. But he said after Knives Out, he was coming back to Star Wars. Why has that changed? Why are there other Star Wars movies in the works and this man not getting his Star Wars trilogy? And I am fine with the idea that we're doing this in 2027. Just let me know. Tell me what's going on here, Kathleen Kennedy. Come on. Throw me a bone. You just threw me a mountain of food with all these new Star Wars projects, but you haven't thrown the Star Wars fans a bone when it comes to Rian Johnson. There is going to be a polar opposite reaction for the announcement and what kind of announcement it is going to be when we discover what's happening with Rian Johnson's trilogy. We're going to have people, if it's announced that it's actually going to happen, we're going to have people who are going to cry foul. We have people who are going to say, this is an awful decision by Lucasfilm, how dare they? Then you're going to have people on the other side saying, oh my god, good job, I'm glad they did this, I like The Last Jedi. And even if you didn't like The Last Jedi, you may be in the position of saying, I'm willing to give Rian Johnson a chance outside of the realm of the sequel trilogy where he is kind of limited and maybe he can do better without legacy characters. That's one thought. But then the other side of it is, let's say they announce that they're canceling the Rian Johnson trilogy. They appreciated all his work and everything, but they just decided to go a different route with some of the new movies. You're going to have some people on the side who don't like Rian Johnson, who don't like the sequel trilogy, who don't like The Last Jedi, who come out and say, thank God, hallelujah, they canceled it, none of this crap. But then you're going to have another side of the Star Wars fandom who like Rian Johnson, who like the sequel trilogy. Maybe they don't like the sequel trilogy, but they like The Last Jedi, who are going to say things like, you really got bullied into submission. You really allowed these trolls on the internet to kind of dictate how we're going to run Star Wars. It's going to be very polar opposite reactions. I'm on the side of I want the Rian Johnson trilogy to happen. Mostly for selfish reasons, just because I want to say I told you so. Just to say I told you so that it was going to happen. Is this an actual thoughtful take? Is this an actual philosophical take on the matter? No, this is just Star Wars only being petty. Petty as hell. But another reason I want the trilogy to happen is to see what he can actually do with it. He's supposed to write and direct one of them. I would not mind him directing a Star Wars film and kind of redeeming himself in the eyes of the Star Wars fandom. I think if the Rian Johnson trilogy does happen, it will be the most unique Star Wars movies made, because the way we go into this is there's going to be a lot of tension not only on the film, but on the guy who's making it. Can he actually make a good Star Wars film? Was The Last Jedi just something that couldn't follow up The Force Awakens, who didn't really work well with the story of the sequel trilogy? Was a lack of planning on the side of Lucasfilm and not really problems of Rian Johnson as a writer and a director? Or are we going to get a film that everyone hates again and people realize this trilogy should have never happened? There's going to be a lot of different outcomes if this does happen. I would just like to know if it is or if it's not. I feel like Rian Johnson is the awkward guy at the party where everyone's celebrating these new movies, these new shows, and he's over there in the corner like, I still have my trilogy, guys. I don't know what's going on here, but I would like to know the answer. But what do you think? Tell me in the comment section below. Do you think Rian Johnson is still getting his Star Wars trilogy? I personally do. They haven't taken down the page yet on StarWars.com. He and Lucasfilm have said for a while now that they're still doing it, but it's been a minute since we've heard anything, and I need to hear something solid. I need to hear some actual information. But tell me your thoughts below. Do you want this trilogy to happen, or do you not? Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, because it does help the channel. I'm Star Wars Only. I will see you all next time. May the Force be with you always.